Hi, I'm Tanner.
And I'm Trevor.
And this is All Things Awesome. Today we're going to talk about the recent Spider-Man news. As we all know by now, Spider-Man is going to be seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. First of all, the All Things Awesome rating of this is awesome. This is definitely awesome. But we're going to elaborate a little bit on what it might mean for the Marvel Cinematic Universe / the Sony Universe. And we'll just kind of see where the conversation takes us. There's no script for this, so let's see where it goes. First thoughts is what we're going to start with, and my first thoughts when I heard this, first thoughts were, are they going to keep Andrew Garfield? We now know that to not be the case. They're not going to keep Andrew Garfield, and I don't know how I feel about it. I kind of, I really like Andrew Garfield in the role. When I when I reviewed the Amazing Spider-Man 2, I really, you could see it in there that I really enjoy his portrayal of Peter Parker. But that being said, I think that there are plenty of people who could play it great. So, what were your first thoughts?
Oh, I was a little taken aback. I've been trying to follow it as much as possible, the whole Sony, Fox, Columbia against Marvel type thing with the Fantastic Four and X-Men and Spider-Man, and I was really happy, but I was also a little hesitant as to how they were going to reintroduce something they just rebooted. You know, that in that shortest time span, and I think they could do it. I think even with a new actor they could do it, but I think it's going to have to kind of be like he's already existed there, you know, and it's just like, oh, you know, we're going to bring him into the movie or into that universe. Like, he's already been there. They need to establish that he's been there. I think they should touch on the origin story, but they shouldn't exactly redo the whole thing over again. Everyone knows how Spider-Man got his powers.
Exactly. So. I totally agree. If no origin story. That's what everybody's saying. No origin story. We've seen it twice in the past, like, 10, 15 years. We don't need to see it again.
Notwithstanding flashbacks.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, he could lightly touch on it. Like, say, he's in his Peter Parker, whether it be adult or high school, he's Peter Parker does monologues. Spider-Man does his inner monologue, and he could be on a roof, a building top, and he could be talking about how he became Spider-Man. He could say, oh yeah, I got bit by a radioactive spider. Now I'm Spider-Man. I've been fighting crime for however long.
Yeah.
And then it can go right into a good action scene. That'd be a good way to start the film off, with a great action scene, and have it not be like odd and forced or anything like that. I think that's a direction that they should definitely take it in. Who do you think should play high school Peter Parker?
High school? Okay, Peter Parker, right?
Peter Parker. Okay. High school Peter Parker.
If we're going strict Peter Parker, who should play high school?
Like, the actor has to be, like, around the age of, like, 16 to 25. And have to look the part.
You know, if he wasn't known, I don't know why, but I think it would almost be ironic to see Dave Franco do it.
That would be so... Oh, if he wasn't 30.
Yep.
Like, I mean, he could probably...
He could still pull it off.
I think he could definitely pull it off.
But he's already such an established name. I'd prefer someone I don't know, because then I'm not going to sit there and link... Okay, like with Tobey Maguire, it was like, okay, Seabiscuit, Pleasantville, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then with Andrew Garfield, it was nice. He was almost an unknown.
Right, exactly.
That brought him to the forefront. And I think we need someone like that on at least the high school part. We still need... And it gives a... It's almost genuine, because he was, you know, in the story, he's unknown then. He's nothing but just a nerd. So that would bring a little bit more depth to it, having an unknown actor in there, too.
Right. It would make it seem almost natural in a way. Yeah. I mean, and look at the success that Marvel has had with that. I mean, with Thor and with Black Widow. Those were, I mean, Scarlett Johansson was pretty known, and Chris Hemsworth had been in things like Star Trek. He was in the opening scene of that, but they were largely unknown. And, I mean, not huge names. I mean, Scarlett Johansson was pretty big, but she's superstar now. She blew right up after Iron Man 2. Yeah. I think I want to see, like, Josh Hutcherson. I think is his... I don't know exactly how to pronounce his last name. I think, because he's got that weird awkwardness. Like, you can see it in PETA in the Hunger Games. I don't want him to be PETA. I want him to be Peter, not PETA. Yeah. He definitely... I think he could pull off the geekiness, but, like, I want it to be kind of like new geekiness, like they did with Andrew, but not the same. Don't give us the same. We want the, because what a geek was, 20 years ago or even 10 years ago is different than now.
I like to think of not Spider-Man but Peter Parker. I like to think of it almost as Batman in a way of the acting sense, because I mean you look at the separate acting jobs between Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, and Christian Bale, and soon to be Ben Affleck. They're all going to have different takes on it. I like to see a different take on Peter. You know, Toby was very reserved and unsure of himself, and then
almost 50s.
Yeah,
like 50s,
like 50s, 60s.
It was very retro.
Yeah,
like Silver Age.
Yeah, and then Andrew Garfield brought the the Spider-Man we know today. You know, the wisecracking, cocky, kind of, Peter Parker. You know, he had that little bit of sass in him,
right. Which is so popular with the sarcastic tone and the joking manner, like the satire of it. It was almost reminiscent of Tony Stark and like Robert Downey Jr. And I liked that a lot. So we need an actor who could do that. I'm not necessarily sure Josh Hutcherson could pull it off, but I saw him on SNL and he did a good job hosting. Yeah. So I think he could pull off the humor, the satire pretty well. Mm-hmm. That's my choice. And this is an interesting one because I don't think they're going to go with it. They've already said that they're going to do high school age, but I would prefer to see adult Peter Parker. Mm-hmm. I'm tired of I don't want to see him graduate. I want him and Mary Jane to have been married for a while and see that.
Because the stories have a little bit more, not grit. They have a little more grit to it when he was older and married. He'd been in the game a while. If they established him as an adult, they literally could bring in all these awesome villains that he encountered when he was an adult.
Right.
Instead of just Green Goblin, there's so many in his rogues gallery that they could bring out if he was an adult, because I'd like to see him stay true to the comic. So as an adult, he had a lot more experience with a lot more villains. Mm-hmm. And as a teenager, he had a certain kind of group, and that's almost how the Sinister Six was made.
Right.
Because it was those villains when he was a teenager. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to see him even get like an outlandish villain. I'd like to see that. So like Thanos, very out there. Not many people. Everyone knows Green Goblin, Joker, all those kind of mainstream villains. Thanos is way out there, and now he's a huge part of the.
Exactly.
And I want something like that for Spider-Man.
You know the villain that should be in the first one, Kraven the Hunter. That would be cool. So cool. You could break it down and show how he has he uses the herbs to augment himself and because he's a serious threat to he's a serious threat to Spider-Man. It would be so cool to see Kraven the Hunter done correctly, played by this can't happen, but Hugh Jackman. Mm-hmm. That would be that'd be awesome. That would be amazing. Or Superman's dad in Man of Steel. I should know this.
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. Yeah, I think he would do not as well as Hugh Jackman, but either or. Ironically, they were
both Australian.
Yeah, they're both Australian, and Russell Crowe was going to be Wolverine. Fun fact: he was going to be Wolverine before Hugh Jackman. But back to the original question: who would you have play adult Peter Parker, 30, between 28 and 35?
That's really tough. I'm so used to seeing Andrew Garfield at this point, but we're looking for someone a little older. I can't really come up with someone off the top of my head. A really weird choice. Really weird. You almost couldn't see it, but then once I say it, you're going to be able to see it. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
No, that would be amazing. That would be awesome. That would seriously be incredible. Because he has like I said, with adult Peter Parker, there'd be more drama and it'd be almost, you could Nolanize it more. Mm-hmm. And he would bring that so easily. He's such a great actor. That would be amazing. That would be really good. And he's, at this point, he's bulked up. Not that Peter Parker is big, but he's bulked up enough to be,
adult.
Adult Peter Parker. I hadn't thought about that. That's awesome. My first choice, and if you probably don't follow me on Twitter, but after this, hopefully you will. I was tweeting Donald for Spider-Man all day, the day after this was released, and I want Donald Glover as Peter Parker. I want it to happen. I know it's not gonna, but he is Peter Parker. It's seriously, and it's not fair because if his skin was white, he would immediately be Peter Parker. He fits the bill. It's so perfect, and I want to see a Black Spider-Man. Do something different with it. That would be incredible.
I agree, but I disagree, and I'm going to tell you why when we touch on the subject.
Okay. All right. Yeah. But since they're not going to do that, I would really like to see Zac Efron. And everyone cringes when I say that, but Zac Efron, I think, would be an awesome Peter Parker.
He's got the Chris Hemsworth potential to come out of nowhere.
Oh, exactly. Or Matthew McConaughey, or even he could go to Leonardo DiCaprio levels. I think he's a really good actor. He's just, I mean, he has a
High
stigma.
High School Musical, and the rehab thing, and yeah.
I just think, I mean, watch That Awkward Moment or Neighbors, and you can see that he could, like, not so much Neighbors, but That Awkward Moment, he's almost like Tony Starkish. He's got that kind of like, he's got that demeanor, and that's, like we said, you touch on that satire with Andrew Garfield. Let's bring it through and really show it in this new one, and have it be with Zac Efron. I think he could play the part just great, just absolutely great. He's a great actor. I think that's definitely my choice for white adult Peter Parker. Donald for Spider-Man. Let's break the internet with Donald for Spider-Man, please. Can we just let's get Donald Glover as Spider-Man? It would be amazing. It would be so good.
I agree, but there has to be a different take. And
or okay, all right, and let's let that segue into Miles Morales. Let's talk about the ultimate universe, and how Miles Morales is the most I mean, like, popular in the. He's the only thing in the Ultimate Universe. He's Ultimate Spider-Man, and he's 13 in that, if I'm not mistaken. And I think I really think Marvel should take. They're not gonna, because Civil War, but I really think that they should take Miles Morales and have him be Spider-Man in their universe. That would be so different and so cool, and that's what we need. We need something that we've seen Peter Parker so many times, and let's, not to say he came back in the Ultimate Universe. He could come back later down the line. Why not have Miles Morales? He's such a different character. He's got a little different power set. I think that's what I want to see is Miles Morales. But and again, Donald for Spider-Man. We could do adult, because we already said, Peter could have been gone for many years, and it's adult, maybe 20, 25 Miles Morales, and then later in this new Spider-Man series, Peter Parker comes back. That would be interesting to see, and then we could have adult Miles Morales and have Donald Glover as Spider-Man in the sick costume. It would be awesome.
See, and that's also a great canon for reboot, is just literally saying he is not the original Spider-Man. Spider-Man's dead.
Right.
Gone. Mm-hmm. This is the new Spider-Man. And I'd even like to see him just pick up from adult. Just keep the comics going as young.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so and if they had to cast somebody to play a young Miles, who would you pick?
You know who I'd pick. But here's the thing, like, say they wanted to do 13-year-old Miles Morales. The person who I'm going to say, and everyone agrees, would work. It would be perfect right now. But since they're not going to come out with... If it was casted right now, I would definitely say Jaden Smith. Come on.
Yep.
He definitely fits the bill.
Yep. I'd agree.
Yeah, I can't even think of another actor who would be better than Jaden Smith.
Well, if he wasn't as old, I was going to say the guy from Everybody Hates Chris.
Oh, yeah.
Tyler.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Somebody in the comments tell us.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody in the comments tell us who the kid Chris and Everybody Hates Chris is. We'll make the mental note. But Jaden Smith all the way. But here's the thing: I think that they will do Miles Morales, but it's going to be in 10 years, and Jaden Smith will be what, like 26? But no, he can't do it. Yep. So we're not going to get Donald Glover as Spider-Man ever. It's not going to happen, and that makes me very angry. I'm very passionate about Donald for Spider-Man. We're not going to ever get Donald Glover as Peter Parker or Miles Morales. I already know that's going to happen. It's a pipe dream. But now, how they're doing it, we're not going to get the second best Jaden Smith as Miles Morales either. And who knows what might happen? There might be a new up-and-comer who's an African-American actor who would just kill it. But we don't know that yet, and I'd really like to see one of those two play Miles Morales. I want to see Miles Morales brought to the big screen.
Yeah.
I want to see it. I mean, Donald Glover did the voice in the Ultimate Spider-Man
series.
The series, yeah. And I'm really geeky, so I tend to watch that from time to time when I have the time. But I really like that show too, and that's kind of more based on the Ultimate Universe, and it's really interesting to see the different takes on it, and you can do so many different things with the Ultimate Universe. Now, let's talk about, well, not first, but let's talk about the deal now between Sony and Marvel and where we think it's gonna go. What is it one movie? Because that hasn't really been released. Is it one Spider-Man standalone film that Marvel is going to help make with Sony? And then there's the one which he's going to be in Civil War. He's gonna which fits, but I wanted to see Black Panther. To me, Black Panther is more interesting than Spider-Man. Yeah. And Chadwick Boseman,
perfect.
That's an awesome casting decision. You know, and this is an offshoot of Spider-Man, but you know who would be an awesome T'Chaka? T'Challa's dad, his father?
Denzel Washington.
Denzel, yeah, see? Make it happen, Marvel. Denzel Washington as T'Chaka. Make it happen. That would be monumental.
And
I mean,
have him say Training Day lines in the movie.
Yeah, I could.
King Kong ain't got shit on T'Chaka.
Oh my goodness. No, but this deal, like, you know, it could go a lot of ways, and I think both of them really win. I mean, it's going to save Sony Pictures, and it makes it so the rights can't go back to Marvel. Marvel wins because they get to use the most popular character in Marvel history that is ongoing.
In their MCU, which is already huge.
Huge. And you put it with, it's either Joss Whedon or the Russo brothers are going to direct the Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and 2. That's already known. But are they going to be able to work with so many characters and adding Spider-Man into this? You notice that the Inhumans aren't. They're after the Infinity War Part 2 now, and I wanted to see. You know it. You know.
Black Bolt.
Yeah, Black Bolt. Seriously, I wasn't too into the Inhumans comic, but I looked into Black Bolt after I was looking into the Inhumans because I knew it was coming, and I'm like, I want to see that. That's awesome. He's a Dragonborn. In a way, but like on a way bigger scale. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And but you know, and I'm fine with waiting, but they had an idea. They had a certain structure, and they were going to build it in a certain way, and now they're going to throw it all off the off the rails for Spider-Man. And I don't know if that was a good decision. I mean, in Marvel we trust. I don't know why I'm going to do this, you know, or whatever. I think I did some weird.
I don't know.
Yeah, I did Twilight Zone or something. Either yeah. Okay, but in Marvel we trust. I volunteer as tribute to trust Marvel.
Daredevil, Howard the Duck, Punisher from the 1980s.
That wasn't that. No, in Marvel Studios we trust.
Yes, Marvel Studios.
In Marvel Studios we trust.
Not in Marvel per se, but Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
That sounded really nerdy and pretentious. I'm sorry.
This whole video is. Okay. Speculation. Where do you think the story's going to go? I touched on it a little bit with the Miles Morales. Where do you think he's going to be in Civil War? The Civil War storyline is going to play out similarly how it did in the comics, and then
they're going to kind of do an offshoot.
But he's going to be in the MCU. That movie's going to be within the MCU. They have it on the Marvel Studios calendar now. So, what do you think is going to happen?
Wow. There's so much potential. Like I said, his rogues gallery is huge. There's so many storylines and story arcs that... Because, I mean, I like to look at it this way. If they brought Guardians of the Galaxy to theaters and they did the storyline that they did... I mean, it wasn't out of the comics directly, as far as I know. But if they brought something like that, they could do one of... Which... This has always been my favorite. I don't know why. I guess it's because there's multiple Spider-Man. I'd love to see it. It'll never happen. I'd love to see I can't remember. It's the clone. The clones with Kane and Ben Reilly.
Yeah,
and Scarlet Spider.
Oh, that would be so cool.
That would be awesome.
Do you remember the 90s when Peter was in the cartoon when Peter was in college? That was my favorite.
Yep.
It was and it had a crossover with the X-Men comic cartoon that was out then. That was such a good, and that's I think I mean that's kind of retro. So use some of the older stuff but update it. That's the biggest thing. And with Marvel, they'll totally do that. That's the thing. We win. We can sit here and speculate and talk and complain about how movies got pushed back and we want a certain. It's gonna be good because it's in Marvel's hands.
I mean, look at Days. I mean, granted, this is a different studio and all, but look at Days of Future Past.
Right.
That's an older that's an 80s story. They did it perfect.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was true to the form. I mean, there was liberties taken here and there, but they were true to the story, the base of the story, and I think that they could do that with a lot of Spider-Man story arcs. And I'm really happy. See, look at Gwen Stacy, for example. That was what, 70s, 80s?
I think, yeah.
I feel like it was 70s.
I feel like it was 70s.
Late 70s.
Or, yeah. It was. I know that it was. I wasn't born, and it was a big deal. It changed comics. It took. Yeah. I think it's what took it out of either the gold or the silver age. I don't know what they say.
Because there was a couple big moments in Spider-Man. It was the Harry's drug abuse. That was a big one because no one had touched it, and it was Gwen Stacy's death because not a lot of comics dealt with straight death.
Right. Yeah.
And what it does to a hero, and
I mean, Spider-Man was edgy. At a time. Yeah. And now it's like as a movie playing it safe, and that's the problem. We're oversaturated with superhero movies. We need to see new things all the time. It was Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a fun watch.
But it didn't bring a whole lot new.
Exactly, it didn't bring. The most awesome scene in that was Gwen Stacy's death.
Yeah, and it hit everybody.
Oh yeah, and that.
Grown men cried in the theater. I swear, I looked at them and they were tearing up.
Wow, yeah,
and they knew it was coming. They knew it was coming.
It was kind of like the whole movie was will they, won't they? But we were also asking will they or won't they kill Gwen Stacy? Yep. It was really interesting to see.
Because Jamie Foxx was the main draw. I wanted to see him play Max Dillon. And
such a cool character.
Oh, he played it well. They just didn't introduce him.
Right.
I didn't feel for the villain. I like to feel for the Joker. They didn't put a lot of backstory on him, but they introduced you to him in a sense that got you close to him. It was like the Joker, and you want to see every moment he's on the screen. Or who else would be another villain? Thanos, which we don't get a lot of screen time, but I'm really invested in seeing him.
Yeah, it's
Ronan. I was really invested in him.
Ronan is
the villain's a huge part of any superhero.
Yeah, it's a major pillar. Like if there's four pillars holding up a movie, a superhero movie, or really any movie. I mean, the antagonist is one of the pillars holding it up. It's the opposition. It's what builds a good plot and good storyline, and that's just kind of where they fell. Some superhero films are falling short.
Yeah,
and some films in general are falling short.
Yep, because we identify that the villain gets to play the part of all of us where we don't get to let that side out. It's always those afterthoughts. It's like, what if I just shot everybody in this freaking building? and
that's a little dark.
And you keep it to yourself and you put it down. You're like, no, that's not socially acceptable. For them, it is. And that's what the big draw is with the villains. That's why Ronan and the Joker are such big draws, because they're freaking crazy.
Right.
And that's what you love to see.
Yeah, and you could argue Ronan. People, they loved or hated him. He looked
Ronan's not even really a villain.
Right, he's an anti-hero. And same with Thanos.
Yeah.
He's an anti-hero. There's a comic where he's trying to help Thor get rid of his madness. And then he fights Odin. Oh, that's such a good comic. Oh my god. I have to read that again. Okay, we could talk about this for hours. We're going to wrap it up now. What are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are in Marvel Studios we trust. Just think back to Iron Man. Look what they did.
Yeah.
If you think about it before that, and it's hard to remember, Iron Man was not in the forefront. It was the X-Men. It was Spider-Man. Daredevil took a poop. But it was the Fantastic Four, I suppose, was up there, which is they're a little more outlandish, but they took Iron Man, and made him awesome. It's like, and he's an awesome character, but not many people paid attention to him.
He was a B or C list
hero. I'd say B list in the mainstream mind. Right. In the comics, he was obviously A list, but and here's another example: Guardians of the Galaxy. No one knew who they were, unless they were a major nerd, because I barely even I heard of them, and I mixed them up with someone else that was kind of in the X-Men universe, and then I got it in my head that they were going to mix X-Men with the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy, and I was like, they're gonna, and it was just like a mistake on my part. That's how little I knew about Guardians of the Galaxy, and now I was researching them, as we both were, and honestly, that was their best movie, and they took That's just an outlandish one. Imagine what they can do with Spider-Man. He's the most well-known. You can't even argue it. He is the most well-known Marvel character, and they will do something good with him, because Marvel Studios has not had a bad movie yet, except Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 2. I liked it.
You got to see War Machine and Iron Man back to back, messing up a bunch of drones. That was the coolest part, apart from Mickey Rourke. But getting off topic, I trust in Marvel, and I
Yes.
think they're going to be able to. They're definitely going to be able to expand upon the universe, do something interesting, do something different, but stay true to the character as well.
I totally agree. My final thoughts on this are, it's awesome. This is what we all wanted. It's the best of both worlds. I mean, and both studios really win, and we win as viewers. I mean, with all of this, it's just them setting the bar and then setting it higher and setting it higher, and to the point where we get, like 4 awesome superhero movies a year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hopefully they're awesome, but they're learning, and people are taking notes from Marvel Studios, and Sony is partnering with Marvel Studios, and it really just shows. I mean, Disney owns everything at this point, but they're really showing that Disney is leading this entertainment, our movie and entertainment. That nowadays it's just
And they're handling it with care.
Exactly,
And that's what we want.
And that's the thing with with Kevin Feige and Joss Whedon and the Russo. They all really respect the content, and that's what we want as comic geeks, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's we need more things. Like, think of if video game movies were treated with the same regard.
Oh man,
and that's where we're headed. I think we're headed toward a time. We're gonna have just really good movies,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just excited about it. I'm excited about this, and I'm excited about everything. Marvel Studios touches is great. So let's let's get him. And Kevin Feige's gonna executive or co-produce Deadpool, which is gonna be amazing. That's a different video, but I think it's just great. I think it's great. So yeah, this has been All Things Awesome, and this was a little reaction video to the Spider-Man news. We hope you liked it. I'm Tanner Martin.
I'm Trevor Loux, signing off.